Hello, everyone. Welcome to First Fridays in the Exchange Art Talk. My name is J.A. Süss, and I just want to welcome you this November 4th to the Art Talk. Our guest today is Kathleen Shellrude, and the topic that we're going to be talking about, our title, is Imagining Intimacy During Isolation. So before we get started, I just want to say that there are a whole bunch of events and galleries open and video art to see tonight. And we've got them all published on our website, which is firstfridayswinnipeg.org. So there are so many of our members who have let us know what they've got going on at their galleries, and we just publish them on our website and also on our Instagram and Facebook and Twitter pages. So our Instagram is First Fridays Winnipeg on Instagram. That's our handle. And on Facebook, we're First Fridays in the Exchange. So, and Twitter, it's also First Fridays Winnipeg in the Exchange. So go and find us on our socials and check us out. I just want to say a little bit more about First Fridays, which is a member organization. So the First Fridays organization was started by Karen Schulz and another person in order to encourage people to come to the Exchange District in Winnipeg, as First Fridays is like just a fun thing to do, and it's a great way to come together, artists of many types. So I just wanted to do our land acknowledgement, and I hope that if you want to, you could say it along with me. So we usually do the land acknowledgement even though we're virtual. So if you are somewhere else other than in Treaty 1 territory, maybe take the opportunity to look up your own land acknowledgement under your treaty or wherever you are. So we acknowledge that the Exchange District is located within Treaty 1 territory, the original lands of the Anishinaabe-Wewuk, Nina-Wewuk, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. We acknowledge that our water comes from Treaty 3 territory, and much of our hydroelectric power comes from Treaty 5 territory. We'd like to work together towards greater understanding and acting on how to decolonize art, artistic practice, and public discourse. So thank you so much for joining us today. I just want to highlight a few of the things that are going on in the Exchange District today. So I'm going to kind of do it by street, and that's sort of how we're doing it on our website. So one of our really active members is the Creatory Gallery and Studio, and they've always got something, at least one thing going on. So tonight they've got an exhibition called Naked, Sleepless, and Hot Pink, and masks are mandatory there. We've also on Albert Street, there's like a whole bunch of stuff, and including Art Beat Studio up until 9 o'clock. And at the corner of Albert and Arthur, there's two things. There's Seduta Art, which is like a little art supply shop and stationery supply shop. It's kind of underground there. And there's like a window off of Albert Street. And then the door is off of Arthur. It's a cute little spot there. And then also on that corner is Art Space, the building. And there's a live stand-up comedy show in there tonight as well. I just want to highlight that on Main Street, the Edge Gallery is hosting Make Believe Friends by Kathleen Shellrude, who's our guest tonight. So don't go there between 6:30 and 7:30 to interrupt Kathleen, because she's going to be talking to us, but you can go there and look at the stuff anywhere from now until 9 p.m. That's an opening reception. And I'll just tell you, it's a magical world of ceramic families and femmes, painting of animals, some in costumes, and humans with feathered and feline companions. So that's very exciting. You'll hear more about that in the next hour. And the Martha Street Studio, which is now known as Manitoba Printmakers Association, has got their annual members show and sale. As well, Urban Shaman Contemporary Original Art Gallery is open till 10 tonight. They have their 18th annual members show and sale there, which is called 50 to 500. There's going to be some live poetry reading and other exciting opening things tonight, and that's at 290 McDermott Avenue on the second floor. And there's like a lot of other stuff. If you're looking for like food and drink, there's the Non-Such Brewing Company at 125 Pacific. And on William Avenue, there's live music night there. Live music there tonight. That's on 336 Williams. So there is just so much happening tonight. So I hope you get a chance to go out and hear something. I'll just do two more things quickly before we start talking, which is I want to thank everyone who's helped us get this together today as far as funding goes. So I'm just going to thank ahead of time Winnipeg Arts Council, Manitoba Arts Council, the Winnipeg Free Press, and the Exchange District Biz. Exchange Biz. I will also say just one more thing about Art Space, which is on the corner of Albert and Arthur, that we have a printed guide now for First Fridays in the Exchange. So you can pick that up in the lobby of Art Space. And that actually, I'm just being corrected on that, is not at Albert and Arthur. It's kind of at Albert and Arthur, but at Bannatyne. So it's like that little Exchange District confusion corner right across from the Cube, to the south of the Cube. So I'm going to just say a few things about our guest, and I'm just going to read Kathleen's bio because Kathleen's really interesting and accomplished, so you're going to hear a little bit about it. So Kathleen is a mixed media artist and experimental ceramicist. Kathleen lives and creates on Treaty 1 territory in Winnipeg, and her artistic career began after a lengthy hospitalization in 2015, which prompted her to use art as a means of processing issues related to a personal history marked by disability, mental illness, homelessness, and addiction. Her paintings feature dreamlike landscapes, magical creatures, explosive flowers, and abstraction. She works in multimedia and sculptural pottery by combining acrylics, resin, gold leaf, botanicals, bones, stones, prayers, and spellwork that connect her and the viewer to the divine. This is Shellrude's 5th solo show, and she's looking forward to a 6th, Constellations, at Prairie Fusion in Portage Prairie in January 2023. Her artwork can be found online and in person at www.kshellrude.com, Tara Davis Boutique, Radiance Gifts, and Upbeat Artworks. So even though I gave you a little snippet of what Kathleen is about, let's find out more. Hello, Kathleen. Welcome to the First Fridays Art Talk.
Hi, Süss. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Erin, also for helping with the technical stuff. I appreciate both of you so much. I thought that I would give you just a really quick introduction to who I was before I found art. So I am not an artist by, you hear the stories of people that started making art when they were a child, and I'm sure I made art as a child, but it wasn't my one true passion through life. I went to school and graduated from the University of Winnipeg with an honors degree in women's studies and an honors degree in sociology. And from there, I started working in the social work and helping fields. So primarily I've worked with women involved in the sex trade and street involved women. And that was my real passion until I started traveling through the world. So I lived in Mexico and I lived in South Korea and enjoyed my life very much there until I returned back to Winnipeg and started working again with women in the sex trade. And what happened for me, as I think happens to not a minority of people that work in helping professions, was, we have an overtaxed and a broken system where there's a cycle of poverty, there's a cycle of abuse, there's not enough resources, and there's often death involved in that. And so I experienced not a little bit, but quite a bit of vicarious trauma. So, and also my personal life was a little bit bananas at the time too. And what happened was I just had, I progressively and also all of a sudden had a complete nervous breakdown. So I started using drugs and alcohol more than I had been before, and it led to me, I lost my job, I lost my home, I lost my car, and I lost my mind. And I had some health, some health disabilities that happened from that. So I landed in the hospital twice, but I was in the hospital for almost 5 months in 2015. And I had an infection that had landed in my spine and led me to being, I'm not sure if they thought I was going to die or not, but it certainly led to me being paralyzed and in the intensive care unit. So people say, oh no, I'm so sorry, but actually that led me to being healthy. So I can't say I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I deal with pain and blah, blah, but I can't say I'm sorry that I had that experience. So I was stuck in the hospital for almost 5 months, like I said. And what do? You're stuck there. My mom brought me a couple of books, and one was working through, I'm sure everyone's seen these workbooks of working through different, issues. And one was working through addictions, and one was working through mental health. And I was filling them all in, and it got dull. So I started finding other ways to complete the homework assignments. And I should say also that, I had my own hospital room, and I started to decorate it with what was available to me, first and foremost, which were coffee filters and just markers. So I was making these little angels and little butterflies that would stay in the window to fill my time, but also to fill my room with something that was a little more pleasant than just white walls and white gowns. So I started working. Yeah.
I was telling my brother this part of the story the other day, and I was saying just how, the items that you were making were full of angels and butterflies are very positive, and they're full of hope and light, and And my brother said, well, like, what else are you going to make? I was like, you can make like trolls with beards. Like you can, it doesn't necessarily mean that like the art that you're going to make is full of hope and light, but yours was, which
I guess you kind of have two paths to go down. It's like, am I going to be bitter and angry that I'm paralyzed, that I have nowhere to go, that I'm stuck here? Or are you going to, go the other way and try to do the best you can with what you have at the time? Yeah.
Yeah. So where did you go from there?
Well, I filled out journals. So I have some pictures of some journals that I did. I filled out like a journal after journal after journal with just art. So maybe we can look at one of those now. There we go. So this was my first foray into art. I mean, this was not the first journal that I filled out, but this came along the way. So, it was a lot, it was very text-based. I did a lot of processing things. So the top photograph, I'm working through the different ways that I can have compassion for myself and the things that I'm trying hard at and doing well at. In the bottom left-hand corner, it says I'm not at war anymore. So it just, I think I was working a lot through, like, just not being angry. And I did a lot of gratitude stuff. So the middle photograph there is me, and then my 3 little dogs. So it says family 2016. And then the right-hand corner is a picture of a house. So it's talking about self-forgiveness, and there's a door that opens and then has a photograph of, I think, me and my brother when we were tiny. So that's just a snippet. I think I have filled out probably 25 or 30 journals full of art.
It's I am glad to hear you say that those like weren't your first journals that you did, because it's quite intricate and like quite skillful and has a style to it right away. So how did you move on from art journaling? Where did you go from the journaling?
So I applied for and was accepted to a place called Artbeat. And I know that you just recently spoke to Eli because I watched your interview with him. So I hopefully people know a little bit about it. But Artbeat is a 6-month residency for people struggling with mental illness. And you get like a small studio space and the space and time to create art. And at the end of that 6 months, you have a joint art show. So what you see here is a poster of our art show and the names of the people that were in that show with me. And then below it are the art pieces that I made for that show. So that was my very first time ever working outside of a journal. It was my first time creating art that wasn't, only for me. And it was a really wonderful experience to be with other artists and to experience that art show in particular, because it it really showed that there was like a path forward, really, in making art and in being with other creative people and in putting pants on and brushing your teeth and leaving the house to make art. Because prior to that, I had only been making art like at home. So it was a really great experience, and I would encourage anyone who self-identifies with having mental health issues to apply and spend time there, because it's amazing.
And when I heard about Artbeat, when I heard about Artbeat, I was like, okay, this is a great start. This is I guess Eli was the first, I had seen your name on a First Friday's post about it, but before that, then when I got in contact with Eli and we did our interview, Eli's at the very beginning, of sort of like his adulthood and life and identity. And, you have so much work. You're like really prolific. So, but you weren't like super prolific before, like after you left there, so what happened after you left Artbeat? Like, how did you continue and where did you kind of go from there?
The first thing that happened was that I lost my nephew. So my nephew, Gordon, sorry, I always get choked up, but my nephew, Gordon, had an overdose and died in 2017. Maybe it was 2018. And he was almost 20 years old. And I had been going to St. Raphael Wellness Center, which is an addiction support group. And I started going there because it was not abstinence-based, so I could start going and still be drinking, still be using, it was just like the start. And I would sit in my groups, and I would be constantly, painting in my journals, sketching in my journals. And originally, I think people were like, what the heck with this girl? She's not paying attention. She doesn't want to be here. But it helped me to process things, and it helped me to pay more attention, and it helped me to remember some of the lessons that I was learning in that group. So I approached my counselor and I said, I'm sure I'm not the only artist who also is working through issues with addiction. Can we put a show together? So the mother of my nephew, he was on life support for 3 days while they figured out whether they could use his organs or not. And so we put together this art show, and there were, I think, like 19 artists, including 4 different performances that brought me to absolute tears. And we read the names of people that had been lost. And it was a really beautiful show. So that also made me see that I could, I could make art, but I could also support other artists. And after that, while he was on life support, his spirit came to his mom and said, don't be sad, Mom. Love never dies.
Oh my God.
So, I know. So the show that I had after that was called Love Never Dies, and that was my first solo show. So there's some images.
I noticed a butterfly and a cocoon, which is really hopeful and forward, forward looking, and is like, transformation, birth, and death.
And it was really interesting when I put so this was at Artbeat also. So people that graduate from Artbeat, they can have shows there at Artbeat following that, and they put the art up for you. And when the art was put up, Nigel Bart put it up, and I could actually see, and I hadn't realized before, because a lot of my art is just what's the word for it? Like it's subconscious. Like I don't plan out when I'm doing. I make a lot of intuitive art, and when I saw it up on the wall, I saw that I had actually moved from painting cocoons, like without butterflies in the images, like the one at the bottom there. You can see cocoons, but there's no butterflies there. There's some birds, but no butterflies. And as time progressed and as it passed and I was working through it, it was lots of butterflies. So, yeah.
That's really beautiful. I have this idea where, like everything that we've experienced, is available to us in the future. So, the love and the memories of love and the feelings of love, that we've had can always be accessed as a beautiful and positive thing. Even if something happens after that's not good, that moment of love and connection is like always available in our mind and in our memory.
Yeah. And it's so nice to have a visual representation of that, something to hold on to or something to look back on.
Mm-hmm. So, moving forward from that point, Artbeat provided this like great space and like the studio space, and you were able to also like access a group show and organize a group show through the St. Raphael experience. And so where did you go from there? Where are you at now?
So, I went to a couple of fairly shitty, fairly not the best art studios, because I knew from my experience at Artbeat that leaving the house, that connecting to other people, that being in the world, although I am an introvert and don't want to, do that too much. I don't want to be at a party every day, but it does help to even just, bicycle somewhere or get on the bus and go somewhere. Like, it's just all very helpful to be part of the world. So I am now at Higgins Studios, and we actually convinced the landlord there. It was like a warehouse space where they built carpets or something before. And we convinced the landlord to take a chance on us. And we went from 4 or 5 artists to start with to now we have 22 with 25 spaces there. So that's where I am now. And here's some pictures of my art studio.
Super cool.
Yeah,
I love
you
it.
came to visit, Süss. Yeah.
It was really happy. Like, I'm glad the picture that you took is of that wall, because it is just so bright and cheery And yeah, I like the contrast of the on the top photo of the wall outside your studio. I love those works, and then the inside is bright. So it's like night and day, really. I mean, it's of the black background is like night.
It's really, I mean, it's really great to be there, and it's really, not only can I make a big mess, but and I don't have to put my things away when I leave for the day, but also I get to say hello to other artists. I get some feedback if I choose to ask for it. My friend Margaret Bryans is there. She does some harm reduction work out of there, so I get to see a bunch of that work happening, which is beautiful. And I get to see the work of all the other artists. The same is true of the Edge here, where I also rent a little bit of space. So a couple of shelves here. I wouldn't be able to afford, like, not only would I not be able to afford a kiln, but I wouldn't be able to afford to have the glazes, the tools, everything that's available here at the Edge as well. So those are the two spaces that I sort of divide my time through. And if you're able to financially afford it, I really recommend to, any artist to get any size space, even if it's a tiny space, because at Artbeat we only had a 10 by 10 space, and it was amazing. So.
Nice. I was chatting with our December guest, Louis Ogama, and he was just talking about the artist-run center and the collectivism that works in Winnipeg, and just how beneficial that is for so many artists here.
We have an amazing art community in Winnipeg. Yeah, we should be proud of it.
Yeah. So it sounds like this, having your own space, like, really kind of, enables you to, like, just really, get busy and work really hard. I just kind of want to drop a quote from an interview that I heard, this weekend with Jerry Saltz, a New York Magazine art critic. And he calls himself a failed artist turned trucker who, at age 40, started critiquing art and, has won a Pulitzer Prize and, like, goes to 25 art shows a week and, critiques. But, his quote was like, "Come on, you babies, get to work, start making art." And I think you do, but another thing that he said was just that, like, art shouldn't just be thought of as objects, but art also should be thought of as, like, an activity and a force in the universe that moves through us. And I think you, like, alluded in some ways to this force where it's like it's kind of subconscious, or things are, the art sort of accesses things that you are not consciously thinking about, or are in the forefront of our minds.
Well, the other thing is, and I often go back to this quote by, I think it was Picasso, who said, "Inspiration has to find you working," which I didn't really understand until I figured out that even if you sit at home and wait for a moment when you have a burst of light from your brain or your heart to create something, that may not happen very often, if at all. But if you sit down and get your paints out and just start, even though you might not have something in mind, even though it may not be the best thing you've ever created, inspiration might find you there, and it does for me a lot. So
Yeah, I love that. So what is inspiration finding you doing these days?
I have a few things in the works, or that I have. I think most of them are in the works right now. So I have some images to show you. The first one here is constellations. So that is being shown at Prairie Fusion in 2023, I think in January. And it's a show made about COVID and about our experiences of isolation / community during COVID. So the image on the left, you can see a woman, who's probably thinking about the things she used to do before COVID hit, and the places she might like to go, or the things that have been lost. The one at the top is called What Grows Between Us. And to me is an image of a couple in whatever kind of coupledom, siblings or a couple, or whatever it is that may be stuck in a house together. And then at the bottom, it is called the virus. And in some ways, I have found that COVID has brought people closer together in certain ways. So these are just a few pieces from that show, but it's all about connection or disconnection during the apocalypse, basically.
Yeah, simultaneously disconnection and connection.
Yeah.
And so, do you also have something coming up called Backbone?
Yeah, I've been working on these pieces. I don't have a location for it yet, so let me show you here. I have been working on, so I'm disabled now from my experiences with that infection. I use a walker and my spine is permanently broken. It looks like Swiss cheese in there. And so I have been working with dead things. So in the top left, you see a deer skull. My partner is Métis and hunts, so he more than I eat deer. It's not the tastiest to me, but I do a lot of scavenging. So the bottom is fish vertebrae taken from, all the fish got herpes one year, and like a bunch of fish died on the shore, so it was littered with rotting fish. But I picked a bunch up, poor fishies. And then there's an actual spine there. So and then the top picture is a picture of my garden at the studio. So people bring me their dead things. I pick up things that have been like roadkill. I am always on the hunt for things that have moved from this world to the next, and I put them into my garden. So they go in at the beginning of a season and they come out at the end of a season, and I do further cleaning on them and then put them together in some way that I find beautiful. It is like an homage a little bit to my disability, where the parts that are broken in me, have actually strengthened me. So, part of adding, like, I do all kinds of pottery, but in these pieces, I'm actually working in coil building. And coil building often has little cracks in it. Like, it's really difficult to get it to the end of the firing process without not having cracks. So, but I fill those in with gold, and then sew the bones on top of that. So to me, it's just a way of honoring the broken parts of us.
That's very cool. That's very cool. I just want to do like one little item of business with our listeners and people who are watching. So if people want to are on our website and then see the button that says join the chat, you can click that and log in, and it'll take you, then you can interact with us, and our tech person, Erin, through Collective Broadcast, is going to monitor those questions, just so that you have a chance to, if you have anything that you want to ask to Kathleen or to me about the work or about anything that Kathleen has said, I just want to encourage you to log into the chat and type in some questions and interact with us. And I'd love to just say like those, it's very cool to, have that cycle of life, present in the art, and to, it just seems like you work with like a lot of themes of transformation, and, making things beautiful and, changing like, things that are, painful into either like a celebratory thing, and just really transforming, attitude, transforming yourself, and using art, as a force within your own life, and for other people to see the transformation to, beautiful life and beautiful things. So on that note, can we talk about, we've got one more slide of things that you're working on. Thanks, Erin, for the reminder, which is the abstract slide. Can we take a look at your abstracts? I also just want to say, like, this reminds me of when I first looked at that slide, it just reminded me of like some of the Google puzzles that, some of the color palettes are like the Google puzzles that are available. Anyway, that's my 1 cent.
Yeah, there's not much to say about this except that I wanted to show you because I'm currently in the midst of it. So I just wanted to throw up what I am currently working on. And I started with the abstract pieces at the bottom, and I sort of work in a frenzy. My mind is a very addictive kind of mind, and I don't say that in a negative way, but it has served me negatively in the past. Now it serves me really positively. So I don't plan a show out. I just get obsessed with something and start making it and making it and making it over and over again in different ways until I feel finished with it. And then I start, hopefully, on a new thing. There have been dry spells that have been excruciatingly painful, but usually I can find a new thing that I'm obsessed with within a month or so after the last thing ends. And I just naturally sort of fell in to making these women after I finished all the abstract pieces, and I realized they fit perfectly together. They're like a nice place for the eye to land after the bit of madness of seeing so many patterns and colors together. I mean, they're still obviously crazily patterned and full of stuff, but you can figure out what they are versus what the abstracts are. So that, that's just what I'm working on right now. And I wanted to show you and all the viewers what's going on for me.
That top right one reminds me of the Yes We Can, the Obama Yes We Can a little bit. So just screen printing. Anyway, could we, I'd love to hear about, your evening, like the rest of your evening, and make-believe friends.
Yeah.
I love the idea of, again, of really, having had, for people who have had, friends and then were without friends, or all of the friends we're used to having during lockdowns and pandemic times, and during COVID, and just having had the memory of things. But I like how you describe make-believe friends a little bit sort of differently, as like creating, your own imaginary worlds. Can you talk about this?
Yeah, COVID has been so hard, like for everyone. So there's been a lot of death and sickness, obviously, that go along with COVID. And then we've also just had a lot of overdoses this year. Like, there's just been a lot going on. And for so long, we weren't able to physically connect with other people either. And I have, always done this, but I especially did it during COVID, was painting and imagining my own, like the world that I would like to be in and the friends that I would like to hold close to me, like real ones, but also just imaginary ones. I seem like an extrovert. I know that I can really seem like an extrovert. I put on a very good mask, but I actually am a really crazy hermit. So I don't like to go out. I don't really like to spend too much time with other people. I enjoy it when I push myself to do that. But in general, my happy place is spending time alone. But when that's forced, it has been a little bit much over the last couple of years. So what I've created is sort of a series of different paintings. There's maybe 3 different types of paintings, and then there's the pottery pieces. So what you're seeing first are a bunch of paintings that have sayings that are quite close to my heart. And you can imagine what they are. At the bottom one, you can't see the whole thing, but it's a trophy. And it says too much. So my whole life I have been told you're just a bit much, or you're just too much. Usually, obviously negatively, but so why not just give yourself an award for it? The other ones are pretty self-explanatory, but also more is best. Like, that's what I always, and you can see that in these images, these like resin paintings. So I put as much as I can onto a canvas. These are like layered in glitter and paint. A bunch of them are glow in the dark. So once the lights go off, you can see like how they sort of glow behind that. They're made by doing the painting and then adding like usually 6 or 7 different types of glitter, and then adding a layer of resin. And because the glitter is so thick, there's a second and sometimes third layer of resin on them. And then the next image is the image of the women. So there are 6 or 7 paintings, and they're the larger paintings in the show. And each one of these women is holding either a feathered friend or a feline friend. I have 2 chihuahuas, but I know that the way that so many of us have connected has been through our pets. I don't know. Who knows if I would actually be alive if it wasn't that I had these sweet animals in my life. And I'm sure so many of us can connect to that. And you can see below also there are some of my vases. So there's the 2 women there, and they weren't made actually to mirror the paintings, but obviously I have a type. And then the next one is of more vases. So I have a bunch of vases of, femmes. Some are families, some are just siblings, some are best friends. That's the one on the top left. And then at the top right, there are some creatures. I think it's Kitty Girl and Bunny Girl. And I also have, a confetti girl and a couple. Oh, yeah, at the bottom, there they are. Like a couple of little demons. So, devil in a blue dress on the right. And then you little demon you on the left. And they're all vases. So the ones that, all of them are vases, but at the top left, once you add flowers or plants to it, it makes their hair. And then the other ones they're perfect bud vases in my opinion, but they could be cute for anything. And there are a ton of them, yeah. So
I just want to testify to the effectiveness of your vases, that they're very effective by just showing everyone a piece that I have of yours, which is right here. It's really great I got these flowers this summer, and then these are from the first queer wedding in my family. I got these from there this summer, so they're very important to me. And then some other pieces. Some of these maybe have memory. They're from you, like this one. I don't know. There's some of these, they may have significance for you, but it's a placeholder, I think, which is super cool for, a summer. You could put a summer, into that. So if anyone's wondering, are these vases functional? I'll just say yes. Yes, the vases are functional. I also just wanted to say that we've got a comment in the chat from Carlin, and who says, thank you for using roadkill for your art.
And if anybody has any roadkill or a bird that flies into your window, or your cat brings you a gift that you don't know what to do with, I'm your girl. Yeah, it'll never go to waste.
Excellent. So I know we've talked about some heavy things today, and so I just I want to let people know that you've been thinking ahead about this, and that you've got some resources that you're willing to share. I guess before I say that, I'll just say thank you so much for showing the playfulness of make-believe friends. and the looking ahead to constellations of your work. I think it's just really lovely to. I think it sparks the imagination, the work, and gets lets a person sort of look into their own life and be comforted by the art. So
thank you. The show's open until the 23rd of November. So if you can't make it tonight, although you should, because I made some really great hors d'oeuvres. If you can't make it tonight, then you can still come down and see it until the 23rd of November.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So maybe we can have a look at some of the next slides when it comes to what we've got going, what people can look to in terms of art resources. And so it looks like this list is resources that you are familiar with and recommend. Will you highlight some of these resources for us?
Yeah, I've used almost all of the resources on this list. So, Clinic Crisis line is open 24 hours and it's toll free. Sarah Riel and Artbeat. Sarah Riel has an art room that's just open for you to use, but it also has a bunch of courses, including a really good one on self-esteem. And it has counseling, free counseling there. And then Artbeat is obviously something that you need to apply for if you self-identify, and you don't need to have a letter from your doctor or anything like that. You just need to self-identify as someone that struggles with mental health issues. The accessibility resources, unfortunately, we're under-resourced for this in Canada. But something that has been super amazing has been the Arts and Accessibility Network of Manitoba, who also have their opening tonight next door at Mawa, called Crip Strength. So I've got a mentoring program through there that I have gone through, and I have been part of a few of their members' shows, but they have really good opportunities. St. Raphael, so the addictions resources. So there's Addictions Foundation of Manitoba, which you have to name them, but also St. Raphael, like I said before, has a non-abstinence based support group, which I think can be really helpful. It's a really good step in for people. There are many different things through it. And for art supports,
I was just going to say, for people who are not sure, what abstinence, not abstinence-based means, it's part of a short way into describing that it's not the 12-step program. It's something different.
Right. You don't have to be 100% sober in order to participate and want to access those resources, which I think is really important. Not everyone is ready to be completely away from all drugs and all alcohol forever. That's a very scary thing to do. And then I have a few art support resources. So there's MAWA, which is for women and non-binary. There's Creative Manitoba. I went through a really great program there, I can't remember what it was, 10 weeks, I think. And half of that was funded and half of it was not. So I did have to pay for it, but they had a payment program, and they have a bunch of free classes that you can take once you become a member. Studio Central is actually through Artbeat, but they're in Porter's Place, and they have free, like the art supplies are actually there, and they have classes like drop-in. It's an easy into art, and then Art City also, which is on Broadway and has free art for kids and also for adults.
It's a great place, Art City, really. It's been around
So
for a while. Yeah. Okay, super. Well, I just want to let everyone know that we are going to, once we get a description for this video onto YouTube and onto our webpage, we're going to have all of these resources, so don't worry about not having copied them down in time. And we're at 7:30. We're at time. So thank you so much, Kathleen, for joining us today and for sharing your stories and for being vulnerable and sharing hope and your own personal way and path forward with art, and your ways that you've made a life out of making art. And thank you so much for all of that. I wish you a lovely night tonight at Make Believe Friends, your show at the Edge Gallery on Main Street tonight. And I just want to
thank you so much, Süss. Thank you. I'm so appreciative for this opportunity, for the time you've given me, and all the effort that you have put into making this hour come together.
Well, thank you so much for everything that you've done. It was a great slideshow. Thanks for taking us through your life and the evolution of your work. I've just we have like one last little funny comment in the chat from Dave, who says that not only does the roadkill make amazing art, but it's great fertilizer too. But thank you again, and have a great show. Have a great opening. Your show, Make Believe Friends, is open at the Edge until November 23rd, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and it's open tonight until 9?
Yeah, although I'll probably be here until 9:30, 10.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. And I just want to say a special thank you to our sponsors, who are, again, the Winnipeg Free Press, the Exchange Biz, also Manitoba Arts Council and Winnipeg Arts Council. A very special thank you to Collective Broadcast and to Erin, who's really working hard for us tonight, and to Karen Scholes and the First Fridays in the Exchange Board. And thank you to all the members who are putting on stuff tonight. Go out and check out some openings at the Edge, at Mawa, right beside it, Urban Shaman, Ace Art, and lots of stores and galleries all over the Exchange. Check out our socials to find out where they are, and pick up a hard copy in Art Space lobby. Thank you so much. You could see all our art talks archived on the First Fridays Winnipeg.org website. And thank you so much. Everyone have a really safe and lovely night.